Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to track what is honestly one of the most fascinating engineering leaps in military history, straight out of DARPA's archives. We're following the incredible journey of stealth technology, from what was essentially a desperate theoretical idea to an undeniable game-changing battlefield reality. So, right off the bat, how do you hide from a massively networked radar system? I mean, it sounds like the plot of a sci-fi thriller, right? But this was a very real, incredibly high-stakes problem the United States was looking at in the early 1970s. You couldn't just fly higher anymore, and you couldn't just fly faster. The entire environment had fundamentally changed, and the sky was literally watching every single move. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast. On one side, you had the old reality. Traditional aircraft that, sure, they were powerful, but they essentially lit up on enemy radar screens like giant neon signs. And on the flip side, the new threat wasn't just a bigger, faster missile. It was this highly intellectual, interconnected web of networked radars and surface-to-air missiles. Adversaries were deploying systems that made traditional evasion practically impossible. Section 1, the air defense threat. To truly grasp the absolute genius of the stealth solution, we kind of have to look at the nightmare scenario that prompted this vital DARPA study back in the 70s. We aren't talking about a single, isolated radar dish out in a field somewhere. Adversaries had woven a deadly, inescapable net in the sky. You had radar-guided surface-to-air missiles working seamlessly with air-launched missiles, and all of this was being fed by early warning radars searching deep, deep into the horizon. And it was all tied together by incredibly sophisticated command and control frameworks. Basically, if you flew into it, the net closed around you. Section 2. The science of stealth. Facing that impenetrable wall of sensors, DARPA realized conventional tactics just weren't going to cut it. They couldn't outrun the missiles, so they had to invent physical cloaks. So the crucial point is understanding radar cross-section mitigation. Shrinking an aircraft's radar cross-section doesn't mean making the actual plane smaller. It means meticulously shaping the exterior geometry of the aircraft to scatter radar waves away, minimizing those telltale return spikes. And then you layer on specialized radar-absorbent materials that literally soak up the radar energy instead of letting it bounce right back to the enemy. But here's the thing. Defeating radar was really only half the battle. Adversaries were using heat and sight to track planes too. So DARPA had to engineer this comprehensive, multi-layered scientific shield. This meant adding infrared shielding to mask the engine's massive heat output, specialized shaping to cool the exhaust, and inlet shielding to hide those highly reflective spinning engine blades. They even had to invent specialized coatings directly for the windshields. The aircraft essentially had to become a ghost. And what is truly mind-blowing here is active signature cancellation. Because stealth wasn't just about slapping some matte paint on weird angular shapes. These aircraft featured dynamic systems actively working to cancel out electronic and thermal footprints in real time. The plane was constantly manipulating its own signature to stay invisible against multiple types of sensors simultaneously. It's just brilliant engineering. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, Have Blue Takes Flight. The speed of this innovation was completely staggering. DARPA officially kicks off the Have Blue program in the mid-1970s. By the end of 1977, Have Blue makes its very first test flight, proving that a practical combat stealth aircraft is genuinely possible. And this phenomenal success leads directly to the Air Force procuring the F-117A stealth fighter, which becomes fully operational in October 1983. So in roughly a decade, the military went from identifying an existential threat to fielding a revolutionary aircraft that completely bypassed it. But Have Blue and the F-1170A were really just the opening act. A massive challenge with early stealth was that turning on your own radar instantly gave away your position. It was literally like clicking on a bright flashlight in a pitch-black room. Well, the follow-on Tacit Blue aircraft solved this. It proved that an aircraft could actively operate its own radar sensors while still maintaining that vital low radar cross-section. This was an absolutely incredible breakthrough that laid the direct technological foundation for the iconic B-2 stealth bomber. Section 4. The Legacy of Stealth. And this brilliantly illustrates the widespread impact of DARPA's 1970s innovations. It created a massive ripple effect that reshaped the entire modern military landscape. Stealth aircraft systematically dismantled key targets across 4 decades of major conflict, from Desert Storm in '91 to operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya. But that single experimental concept from 1977 didn't just stay with fighter jets. It migrated into entirely new vehicle classes, applying stealth technology to an incredible range of systems, including missiles, helicopters, ships, and even ground vehicles. Now, it's really important to remember that stealth doesn't operate in a vacuum. The modern ecosystem heavily relies on combining stealth assets with DARPA-enabled precision-guided munitions. You penetrate the airspace invisibly and strike with absolute pinpoint accuracy. In joint operations, stealth platforms act as the tip of the spear, quietly kicking down the door and dismantling the adversary's networked air defenses so the rest of the conventional force can safely follow. Which leaves us facing this final provocative reality. As stealth technology comprehensively expands across all domains to our ground vehicles, our ships, and our missiles, how will the next generation of radar attempt to see the invisible? It's an endless, high-stakes cat-and-mouse game between hiding and seeking, and the physics are only getting more complex from here. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.